things. Hello and welcome everyone to the 2021-2022 DCS presidential debate. Hello, if you don't know who I am, I'm Craig Gotti, current DCS president, and I will be moderating this alongside Laura Nishko, the current VP internal. So we're going to start with opening statements, and then we will be in a few minutes leaving a link for questions you have for the candidates in the chat. But first, we will be going through a preset question list that we have created. So just to get started, we're going to open it to Lauren Murphy to read the first opening statement.
Awesome. Thank you, Craig. So hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to the debate. I'm super excited to share my thoughts and ideas with you all. My name is Lauren, and I'm currently in my third year of the Commerce program. I'm also currently a member of the DCS Executive. Over the past year, I've been thinking a lot about how we can promote the strengths of the DCS while addressing our weaknesses. And in doing this, I've developed 3 campaign pillars: diversity, wellness, and engagement. I honestly never thought that I'd be sitting here running for DCS president, but after doing this work for the past year, I felt there was no one more prepared, dedicated, and experienced for the role. As well, I know we have not had a female DCS president since 2015, so I hope to bridge that gap as well. I'm excited to touch on my ideas for those of you who have yet to hear them, and I'm also excited to hear what my fellow candidates have to say.
Thank you. And now, Mo.
Awesome. So hi guys, thanks everybody for coming. I really enjoyed this past few weeks engaging with everybody through Instagram, through social media platforms. I really wish it could have been in person, but it is what it is with COVID in this year. So a little bit about me. I am a commerce student in my 4th year. I started off as a general member across various clubs, and then I moved up to a co-chair position at the DMA, and I'm currently the co-president at the Group Marketing Association. So throughout this year, we've had an opportunity to kind of get a gauge of what it is like to lead online. It's been difficult, but we've actually done pretty well. And I think there is quite a few DMA execs on the chat. We've had a pretty successful year, and I hope that, you know, I can further contribute with the DCS next year if I'm fortunate to be elected. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you. And finally, Omar. You're on mute.
What a start. Good evening, everyone. I'm Omar Barakat. Thank you all for coming in for this debate. I'm also very excited to be here with the other 2 candidates who have also shown amazing campaigns so far. I'm here to share my thoughts and ideas with you, and a bit about me. I'm an IBH student currently on internship, and I'm on a finance internship at Jaguar Land Rover right now, hoping to be elected as the president for my final year here at the group. I've had plenty of extracurricular experiences with the group in the past, including green suits, FIOP mentorship. I was the co-director of operations with the group Green, and I've had tons of more experience, and I'm just here and excited to be here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So now we're going to get into questions that me and Laura have prepared, just so that everyone watching can sort of know what's going on. So we're going to alternate the list of when candidates start talking, and they are each going to have a minute to answer the question and are allowed 30-second rebuttals and then 30-second responses to those rebuttals. Yeah, and we've already been over this with them, so don't worry, they already know about this. I guess, Laura, do you want to start off the questions?
Sure, I can start us off. So the first question is, what does the group community mean to you? And our first person to go will be Omar.
So I've actually touched on that a lot. The group community means to me pretty much everything since moving here to Canada. I actually never lived in Canada before starting university experience. So all my friends, all my free time pretty much is dedicated towards the Degroote community. Of course, I have friends outside of Degroote but they're all within McMaster, and I'd say 90% of my life since moving here has been somewhat Degroote related. And really, the reason I'm here is just simply to give back. I don't really need this for any resume experiences or anything like that. I'm genuinely here to have discussions with the students and hopefully have an amazing final year where we make the DCS an amazing community for everyone, whether we're online or back in person.
Thank you, Omar. And the next person to answer will be Lauren.
Awesome, thank you. So to me, the Degroote community means opportunity. So we provide students with the opportunity to gain experience. We provide them with the opportunity to make friends and overall just have an impactful university career. For me, I wasn't super involved in my first year. I was very intimidated by kind of everything that was going on. And then in my second year, I started to get involved with the DCS and some other clubs. And I really found a lot of friends through this. I have so much more experience from this, and I think it's a really important part of our university experience.
Thank you, Lauren. And the last will be Mo.
Yeah, Degroote I think is a great community. When I came into Degroote, as some of the other candidates said, it was a little bit overwhelming. There is a kind of like a gap between high school and university life. So kind of like my campaign would be focused around kind of bridging that gap and allowing first-year students to kind of integrate better into their Degroote experience. When I started at Degroote, I was on residence, and then I was taking the bus. Later, I started driving to school, so I kind of have an idea of what it feels like to be a part of either community. If you're a resident, if you're on res on campus, or if you're commuting. So I hope that I can, relate with you guys, engage with you guys, and hopefully we can have a great year next year.
Thank you, Mo. Also, I did receive an email with a question. Just for those who have questions, hold on to them. I'll be sending out a link to a Google form once we get to that portion. And then Craig, you can take it away with the next question.
Thank you. What past leadership experience do you have that has prepared you for this role? Oh, sorry, I was supposed to tell you who goes first. So for that one, we are going to start with Mo.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually have a few experiences that would be relevant to the role. As I said, I'm the co-president of the DMA right now, where everything has been online. So we've had to kind of adjust and kind of pivot in order to kind of better gauge students, give them a good experience. So with that, I think I'm possibly the only candidate here with a presidency role. Aside from that, I also work at Hilton. I've been at Hilton for 3 years now, and I've been also kind of moving up there. So I've kind of seen what it feels like. I also worked in martial arts for a bit as the director of high performance of a martial arts club. So that also I think would be relevant to the role.
Okay, thank you. And now Omar?
Yeah, so for me, similar to Lauren, actually, within my first year, I never really got involved until towards the end of the year. My friends needed an extra person for a group application to Green Suits, which are the Commerce Welcome Week representatives. And I just thought, why not? I'll try it out. And thankfully, I got in. And from there, that opened so many doors for me, had so many conversations. And from there, I never really looked back. After Green Suits, I was elected as the second year representative on the DCS executive team. I was also the co-director of operations for the Degroote Green and then the FYOP mentor. The following year, I repeated the Green Suits and FYOP mentor. I was also a Degroote ambassador that year. And then the following, I also went on exchange in my third year, in my second semester of my third year. Sadly, I had to come back early because of COVID, but that's when I started looking for internships. And now I'm on an internship, as I said, under the Commerce Internship Program. And I'm also a Degroote ambassador. So I've really seen it all when it comes to all the experiences you can have within the group, and I feel like that's why I can relate to students, because I've been in all these different shoes.
Thank you. And finally, Lauren.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I currently sit on the DCS executive team as VP HR. So I've overseen many recruitment processes throughout this year. I've edited our hiring bylaws and implemented feedback systems so that everyone that gets an interview kind of gets something out of their interview as well. I also lead the Constitution Review Committee, which edited our Constitution and bylaws this year. And we continue to do so even tomorrow is our next meeting. I'm also currently a TA for Commerce One Grow, where I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of first years and kind of get involved academically. And finally, this was my first kind of entrance into the DeGroot community. I was the Director of Operations for Commerce Formal last year. Throughout all of my university years, I have also worked part-time. So I have a pretty good understanding of what it's like to be a working student who's trying to juggle many hats. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Lauren. So we're going to start you off with the next question, which is, what has been your biggest failure while in a position of leadership? And Lauren, if you could start us off.
My biggest failure. This is a really hard one. So I would say my biggest failures I'll kind of group everything that I think I've could have improved on in past experiences, whether that was in a job or DeGroot stuff, is just kind of not standing up for what I believe in necessarily all the time. So what I mean by that is someone sends something out, what do you think about this? I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. When I could have taken more time to kind of get into what should be changed. And that's kind of what brought me to applying for DCS or running for DCS president, is trying to stand up for what I've seen that I think could be improved and things like that. So kind of trying to right anything that maybe I should have stood up for in the past.
Great, thank you, Lauren. And next we will have Mo.
Yeah, for sure. I think like my biggest failure would be sometimes, and I kind of worked on it throughout my past 4 years here at DeGroot, and you can see it probably a lot through the campaign that I've ran, is kind of taking a second opinion on whatever, any idea I have. So sometimes in the past, I would kind of be quick to take decisions and like kind of impulsive decisions instead of kind of looking them over. I've worked on that over the past few years in order to always take a second look, to always ask somebody else if the idea is good, if it's not too good, and to take constructive criticism from them. I think it's really important to kind of have a second opinion and to kind of be like a leader that empowers others. So that's kind of what I worked on over the last few years.
Thank you, Mo. And lastly, Omar.
So mine is actually on the same kind of roots with Mo, except it's like the other way around. I was on the other end of the spectrum where I was, and I'm glad I made like a mistake like this early on. When I was a second year rep, I was taking too many opinions during the time I was hiring from my second year council about how certain people would be under my second year council. And I feel like that affected some of my decisions. However, I think that when you're in a position where you're hiring people and having others hire people with you, it should be solely on what you see in the interview and not what you ask and find out about people outside of it. It should be solely on what you see in the interview and the resume and the application that is sent out to you. And I believe a mistake like this should never happen and will never happen again with me, because that's what we do. We fail and we get back up, learn from our mistakes.
Thank you. So for our next question is, what do you think is the most important part of the DCS president role? And for that, we're going to start with Mo.
Yeah, for sure. I think we have to kind of weigh in the factors of this year. This year, the most important part for me is engagement and socials and mental health, which I really talked about a lot in this campaign. People are at home, they're socially distant. We've been hearing that word so much this year. But yeah, like engaging students, connecting with students is really a tough thing to do online. I think that my experience with the DMA is relevant to this because we've been able to run this year fully online. Again, we've had to pivot to engage students as much as possible. So I kind of have experience towards that, how we can engage students and get them the right resources for mental health if they're stressed or whatever in that. Thanks.
Thank you. Now, Omar?
Yeah, I certainly have to agree about engagement. I think especially during these times, like Mo said, like for a DCS president, the main factor is to be the facilitator of communication between students within themselves, but also between students and faculty, also between faculty and all sort of the student union and whatnot. Like engagement in general is what we need to is what the best is. Sorry, engagement in general is what is most important about a DCS president, and I think a huge focus has to be towards that. Yeah, sorry, thank you.
No problem. And finally, Lauren.
For sure. So I definitely agree with Mo and Omar. Of course, making sure we're engaging students is super important. And I think that this kind of goes along with making sure that students feel connected to the DCS. So as president, making sure that you're open to talking with students and implementing things that they have identified are needs and wants. And I think overall, it also means ensuring that the team underneath the president and all of the clubs and committees at DeGroote are kind of set up for success to do the same.
Great, thank you, Lauren. And on to the next question. So this year, engaging students online has become an increasingly important task. How do you plan to effectively engage with DeGroote students via online platforms? Since there's so much uncertainty, especially with next year, what our classroom will look like and extracurricular activities, of course. So we're going to start with Omar.
Yeah, thank you. So I think really the best way to tackle it is through creativity and innovation within our ideas. I don't know if anyone has seen my campaign recently, but just different ways of engaging students rather than regular posts that we usually have while we're in person. I think more face-to-face interactions need to happen. Obviously online, not in person, but just interactions. People need to see your face, see you talking, see more of who they're dealing with in general, whether it's the DCS president or the team or even any of the clubs and committees. Just in general, more interactions, making it close to being in person as possible. That's the main thing for me, how to tackle this issue with engagement.
Thank you, Omar. And next, Lauren.
Awesome. So there is no doubt that this year has been challenging with student engagement. It's really hard for a lot of students, myself included, to go out and get involved with something that's just sitting in front of your computer when that's what you're doing all day long. So my idea is to improve student engagement during an online term is kind of less of those sitting in front of your computer like you do every day in class. So this means kind of hosting challenges, things like this, where people go out into their backyards or with their the people that they live with in their houses to do something, submit that online, and hopefully learn something from that and get something out of that. If we have to do some kind of a sit-down event, it would have to be something super valuable where there's either a challenge, some kind of networking aspects, or a social aspect with students and alumni.
Thank you, Lauren. And next is Mo.
Yeah, cool. So I don't know if people have been following my Instagram. We've had a pretty engaging campaign, and I actually enjoyed talking with everybody there. In terms of the numbers, we've hosted 3 Instagram lives. We've had numerous polls on stories. All the proposals were almost unanimously backed by students. So all the proposals I've set up were almost completely ideas of students on campus and student leaders. So I would definitely keep doing that on Instagram. I would keep my account up if I win. I'll keep the account up. People can always contact me there. In terms of budget, I would uptick the budget so we can accommodate more socials for next year. I think we really need that. Socials, mental health services are key at a time like this.
All right, thank you. So for our next question, this one's a bit, definitely this one's going to be a relevant one. So this past year, the DCS has received a lot of feedback, which has highlighted the importance of our student body working better towards supporting BIPOC students within the group. How do you continue to drive this support and improve the experience of students belonging to these groups? So for that one, we are going to start with Mo.
Yeah, for sure. I think obviously diversity is a really important thing. I know people were concerned about diversity throughout this campaign, and different candidates addressed it in different ways. Again, it's really important that we make students feel welcomed. We make sure that there's no bias in either hiring or in events or anything like that. So I have three main things that I would do in order to address diversity and BIPOC students. Number one, I would ensure that the team is gender diverse, ethnically diverse, and culturally diverse. Hiring would be 50-50 in terms of the gender ratio. So there'd be 50 male identifying students and 50 female identifying students on the team. The second thing I would do is anti-bias would be addressed thoroughly within hiring, again, and within the team. Number three, the third thing I would do, and I ran a poll about this, I know some people were kind of split in terms of that, in terms of anti-bias training. I know Lauren wanted to do that. I ran a poll on my Instagram stories and we had kind of like a split consensus on that. So if there's majority consensus on anti-bias training, I am completely open for that. So maybe we can run some more polls to see what students think about that. Thanks.
Thank you. And next we are going to have Omar.
Yeah, so diversity is obviously a big thing for me. It wasn't one of my main three pillars, just because I thought my main three pillars had to have more focus than our diversity issues at the group. But cultural awareness is one of the top priorities for me. It's one of the things I look for when I'm looking at student leaders, that they're culturally aware. I went to a high school with over 82 different nationalities, so I like to think that I'm personally a culturally aware person, and I'm very I'm very open, and my eyes are very open about diversity issues, and I'm very aware of them, and of course I'd like to have a team. I don't like to have set numbers or ratios of how I want my team to be, but it definitely has to be gender diverse, ethnically diverse, and also including people from the LGBTQ community as well. That's all very important to me, and I do see the diversity issues, and I will address it if I am to be elected.
Thank you. And finally, Lauren.
Yeah, so this year as VPHR, I really made an effort to ensure we are hiring as equitably as possible and removing bias from the hiring process. So this has resulted in updated hiring bylaws, the creation of like a more concrete scoring rubric for interviews. And to improve this even further, as Mo mentioned, I would like to implement mandatory anti-bias training for anyone who's hiring at DeGroote. So that includes the DCS executive, committee members, and club executives around DeGroote. However, more than just equitable hiring, I believe that there are some individuals who don't feel that they have a place or are welcome in the DeGroote community. So this may mean BIPOC students, as Craig mentioned, or a variety of other students. So this is where my diversity campaign kind of focuses. So I would like to create a VP advocacy who would look into this more and ensure that there are committees in place for people who may not feel represented at DeGroote. So this could include creating an LGBTQ plus committee, a BIPOC student committee, things like that. I'd also like to implement anonymous reporting. So if anyone is feeling like they want to bring something forward, we could have that in place. And I would like to advocate for a diversity, equity, and inclusion curriculum to be a part of the commerce program. I know that the IBH program does touch on this in a lot of their courses, but these issues are going to be important in the business world going forward. So I think we should prepare students for this as well. So that's kind of a summary.
Thank you, Lauren. So our next question is that we noticed all candidates have included mental health support as part of their campaigns, and what makes your initiatives unique versus the other candidates? And we are going to start with Lauren once again.
Yeah, awesome. So after having talked to a lot of first years as a TA, I discovered that while student wellness is a great resource, there are often very long wait times to get appointments during stressful times throughout the year. So at the beginning of the year, especially, I heard that from a lot of students. In my campaign, I proposed a DCS mental health fund, which would host drop-in sessions with licensed counselors for degree students. So this would mean hiring drop-in counselors for a few days in a term. So specific times when we know student anxiety levels are higher so that they can receive licensed advice on tools and where to go and things like that. This would not be a full-time expense, but it would just be an addition to the valuable services that the Student Wellness Center provides. I would also push that we're posting and publishing more resources on mental health as well, all across the board.
Thank you, Lauren. And next we will have Mo.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, one of the main things of the campaign that we ran here was surrounding mental health. And I think our campaign has the strongest mental health platform out of the three candidates. The reason being, I think, all due respect to Lauren, hiring of a counselor would cost way too much. It's going to kill our budget in terms of that. I would work with student wellness completely. I have a great relationship with them. We would expand services there. I would hire a point of contact for mental health within the DCS on day one. So that's a very important thing for me is to hire somebody that's an exec on the team, specifically catered to mental health. Number three, I would also open Discord services online for students in distress. And again, we'd have somebody on the exec team that could overlook that in case students want to anonymously chat with somebody. That will be cost effective. I can guarantee it will get done. Yeah, just the counselor, again, is a great idea, but I just think it will cost way too much, and it's just not a logical thing to do just with funds.
Am I allowed to just rebuttal and clarify really quickly that, Craig? Is that allowed?
So we'll ask you to wait till Omar responds, and you're good to rebut after that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
No worries. So Omar, you're next, and then Lauren, you can respond to Mo's comment.
So yeah, for me, it was also focusing on trying to be as cost effective as possible. Although Lauren's gonna answer right now, and she did say, to be fair, that it was a part-time expense. So I'm interested to see her response about the expenses for counselors. But for me, I focused on hiring. I have focused on hiring a health and wellness coordinator in the DCS as part of the DCS executive team. This idea came from my experience as a green suit, where I saw the health and wellness coordinators of the green suits do an amazing job during Welcome Week, and I thought to myself, why not have that as a full year, as a position that lasts a full year? I really think it would be very beneficial to have someone who acts as a liaison between students and the health and wellness services, and also pushes for events and resources to be addressed, and to address mental health issues and health and wellness in general. It'll be amazing to have someone who's fully focused on those things and have a team under them fully focused on those things, and it will create more extracurricular positions for students. So I think that's one part. The other part is helping that health and wellness coordinator by increasing our health and wellness budget. Very small increases can really help, and by looking at the budget of the past year, we actually ended up in a surplus, and we had money left over. So I don't see, with a few discussions, why we wouldn't have that extra support.
Thank you, Omar. Now, Lauren, you have about half a minute to respond, and then we'll move to the next question.
Okay, awesome. So I just wanted to address the cost of the part-time counselor. So I did some calculations. So if we assume that a part-time counselor could be hired for $100 an hour, let's make it a giant expense, and we're hiring for 8 hours a day. We're doing this for 4 days in the term. That's $3,200. And they could see 96 students over 4 days in 20-minute sessions. So obviously this would just be a start. If there was more demand, we could add that. But again, this is not a very high cost. $3,200 to see 96 students results in $33 per student being helped. And I think if we're giving our students the ability to have tools to manage their stress better and feel overall more mentally well, that is an expense that we should be willing to take on. So I just wanted to clarify the
Can I just
budget.
quickly respond to that?
I think we're going to try to move to the next question, if that's all right.
They are allowed counter responses to the.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just
my
want
bad.
to quickly respond. Again, it's a great idea. However, the counselors, their mental health, there's different mental illnesses. If you have a general counselor, their qualifications are probably not going to be that good. We have tremendous qualifications in student wellness. They deal with all types of anxiety disorders, depression, anxiety, GAD, all the specifics. If you hire a counselor, it's going to be something general. Again, they can misdiagnose students. They could make things worse. So working with student wellness, health science at McMaster I think is a lot better.
Thank you for this wonderful discourse. So now we're going to be moving on to the next question. Let's see here. So leading into the next year, this is another situational question and in a lot of ways ties into this one. So leading into the next year, DCS will have a substantially larger surplus than most years. And how do you plan on dealing with this? So for this question, we are going to start with Mo.
Sorry, Craig, can you just say that again? Was it the surplus you said in budget?
Yes, so leading into next year, the DCS will have a substantially larger surplus than most years. And how are you going to deal with this?
Awesome, thanks for the question. Yeah, in terms of the surplus, I would definitely work on careers in terms of two things. Number one, careers. We would substantially pour more money into career opportunities on campus for first and second years. I want to ensure that we strengthen the relationships we have with alumni, from previous years. Number two, I would uptick our social spending as well. Again, lots of students I've talked with over Instagram have said, we don't have enough social events. We feel that our welcome week has been gone and all of that. So I would 100% uptick social events so we can connect more, we can talk more online. Yeah, those are the two things that I would mainly focus on in terms of surplus.
Okay, thank you. And now Omar.
Thanks.
Thanks, Greg. So yeah, the surplus actually good news to hear because like I just mentioned, willing to have a separate section or an increased section of the budget just for mental health and just health and wellness initiatives in general. I also have my sustainability initiative where I want to, I hope to continue on the Groot Greens initiative of going plastic free throughout the Groot. And I think the alternative might be like the alternative to plastic bottles and whatnot in events that if it is in person might be costly to start off with, but I think it will end up being much more beneficial for the group. I also I also think it's just better overall, as Mo mentioned, just to spend a bit more and take a bit more care of our first and second years who haven't had a welcome week to ensure that they have better events if they are still to be online over the next year. I think a lot of funds should be dedicated towards that as well.
All right, thank you. And finally, Lauren.
Yeah, so I'm a strong believer in that if we're going to be putting money towards something, it has to provide value to our students. So I don't want to spend things that do not provide value. So using this, the budget surplus, I don't want to put it towards like just random stuff to fill money, obviously. So I would like to spend money on initiatives that I put forth, like the DCS Mental Health Fund, networking events with DCS alumni and other DeGroote alumni. And if we are able to have in-person opportunities, I would like to host a welcome back week for our current second years or our current first years who will be second years, and just kind of other general social events so that people can be more acclimatized to coming back to campus. So that is my budget question.
Thank you, Lauren. So now we'll move on to the next question. So leading Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong one. So this one's more of a situational question. So it's how would you handle students from other faculties applying for DCS positions? And we're going to start with Omar.
I think other students from other faculties are more than welcome to apply. But for me, I think the preference, and I will address that to whoever does the hiring, that the preference should always be towards the DCS. In fact, now that I think about it, I don't think that any degree specific clubs or committees should be hiring from faculties, at least for DCS related stuff, just because the payments we make, our tuition fees, a portion of that usually goes towards the DCS, and I think only commerce, if I'm not mistaken, only commerce students pay for that, and I think they deserve that opportunity to be given back to this opportunity. If it's something more related towards the MSU, then by all means, like if it's a business club that's under the MSU, then by all means any faculty should be able to apply. But I think DCS specific stuff should have a much higher preference towards degree students.
Thank you, Omar. And now Lauren.
Yeah, so we actually discussed this a lot this year when I was coming into the VPHR role. What I built this year is a interview scoring rubric that we use, and one of the levels of the scoring rubric is actually eligibility, and we kind of weigh if a student is part of the DeGroote undergraduate class. So if they're paying the student levy, which is really important, we want to make sure that students that are paying into the DCS are getting the most value out of the DCS. So I do think that it's very important to focus on ensuring that we're giving opportunities to students that are members of the DCS as defined in the Constitution. But if there was a case where someone really wanted to get involved with the DCS and they were either one of the only picks, or we had they really blew the other candidates out of the water, then that would be something to consider. But again, I also agree with Omar. We should be ensuring that students that are paying into the DCS are getting the most out of the DCS, and that would be solely DeGroote, so Commerce and IBH students.
Thank you, Lauren. And Mo, you're last.
Yeah, I have a similar position on that to my other two candidates. 100% the same thing. Priority would go to Commerce IBH students. The one position I would think about is the mental health point of contact, which we would put together if I'm elected. I would be open at looking at somebody from the health science department for that. But aside from that, priority will go to Commerce IBH for sure.
All right, thank you. And for our next question is a bit more open-ended. So what are you going to do if you lose? For that one, we are going to start with Omar.
So yeah, if I lose, it's just another failure to get back up from, and learn from my mistakes, understand why I wasn't elected. I have two amazing candidates running against me. I've had a look at their initiatives and their platforms. So this is by far one of the most competitive years for hiring the DCS president. So if either Mo or Lauren wins, I wish them the best of luck. And I might look into applying into other things that I'm interested in as well. Like I still have my connections with people in the green or green suits. I'd still love to be involved with things like that. So it really isn't the end of the world if I don't win this, but I hope I do, obviously.
Also, sorry about that. I did realize just the second I said that I did start on the wrong candidate there, but we'll just adjust it for the future questions. It's still a nice answer anyways. So let's go to Lauren to answer the next step.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, I would love to win, but if I were to lose, I would definitely take that in stride. I would love to sit down with whoever the winner was and talk about my initiatives, why I think they're important, and also what I've learned from being on the DCS executive this year. I think there's a lot of value in kind of sharing what's important to you, and if it's actually super important to you, you'll make an effort to ensure that it's passed on, even if you don't win the election. So that would be what I would do. But like Omar said, this has been a great experience, and I'm sure either of us out of the three of us would do a great job. So.
And finally, Mo.
Yeah, like as both Lauren and Omar said, I actually really enjoyed running this campaign. I want to thank the other two candidates as well. I think they ran amazing campaigns as well, and either three of us would be really good candidates. So with that said, I would hope to win. Obviously, I think I'm a really good candidate, and I think we can do some really good things together. But if I don't, I would love to sit down with the next president if they win, and we can have coffee and chat.
Thank you, Mo. And on to the last question of our kind of prepared questions. So what kind of legacy would you want to leave behind at the end of your term if you were to be elected as president? And we're just going to reset the order, and we'll be starting off with Omar again.
Yeah, so the legacy I want to leave behind is, I guess, just that I was a positive leader, positive president that that had a lighthearted approach towards extracurriculars, but also and made it enjoyable for whoever got involved with us, no matter what it is, with clubs, committees, or DCS exec positions. And someone who made a positive change towards the group and developed our amazing community even further. Yeah, that's pretty much it, short and sweet. Just made a positive change and was able to engage students as much as possible and have them to actually enjoy the year, enjoy whether they're being involved or not.
Thank you, Omar. And then next, Lauren.
Yeah, so I agree with Omar, just definitely creating a positive change. I actually want to go into change management as a career, so implementing concrete change would mean a lot to me. I would also like to set future teams up to be successful. So with these initiatives that I'm proposing, making sure that they're sustainable in the long run so that future generations of degree students can enjoy improved diversity, mental health, and engagement.
Thank you, Lauren. And lastly, Mo.
Yeah, for sure. So I think like in the times of COVID, I think let's say 20 years down the line, 10 years down the line, everybody's going to remember this time period as a very challenging one for everything, for school to social. So I hope I can be a kind of a positive person that comes in and people can remember as try to make the positive, try to instill positive values and positive things within the DCS so we can move together, hopefully post-COVID. One more thing I just wanted to say for people watching, I am an outside candidate, so I know Omar and Lauren both were on the DCS, so I believe that I bring fresh ideas to the table, and I think I can bring change since I'm coming from the outside in rather than the inside kind of a promotion type of thing. So thanks for the question.
Okay, great. Also, we don't need to go into closing statements yet, so we can keep answering questions and worry about that later. But I think we've been grilling you guys for 45 minutes now. So I think what we're going to do is just take and also thank you to everyone in the audience. We've received a ton of questions, so we're just going to take a quick 5-minute break to sort through some of them. And yeah, so how about let's say we're going to come back at 6:50, and then we'll round out with some final audience questions, and then closing statements. All right. Here we go. So we're just headed back into it now. And I would, once again, thanks to everyone in the audience. Sorry, but I don't think we'll be able to reach all the questions because there was sort of a few repetitive ones in there, and we did get a ton of responses. So thank you for participating. And actually, there is one little thing I wanted to address because there was a few questions about the budget, and I feel like it's not really part of it was not really a debate thing. So just so that everyone's on the same page, what happened this year was we had originally budgeted for a lot of in-person events, the idea that we were going to be going back in person soonish. And of course, things have just sort of keep getting extended. So at this current moment and leading into next year, there will be, what that question was about was the meaning that there is going to be a substantially larger budget than most years. So it won't be like that we're taking it away from other clubs or committees, or we're taking away from other specific objectives. It's that those, a lot of the time, like a lot of committees didn't spend their full budgets this year. So all that's sort of carrying into this year. And that was sort of what that question was about, because I just realized it was, I may need to have expanded on that one a little bit. But now we're going to get back into some questions, and then we're going to hit some closing statements, but that's in a bit. So to start off again, for a lot of DeGroote's clubs and committees, for a lot of community, DeGroote's clubs and committees are important experiences. Under your campaign, how will you make sure access to these clubs and positions are available to everyone and maintain positive relationships with them at the same time? So for that, we are going to start with Lauren.
So I'm assuming that this question means like with hiring for executives for clubs and committees. That's what I'm assuming we're talking about here. But I think that when I mentioned anti-bias training, things like that, that's really important, not only for diversity related biases, but also for things like nepotism and hiring people that you know exclusively. It's really important to kind of make sure that people are aware of those biases. So that's why I think that it's really important that anyone that's hiring at DeGroote is receiving that training, as well, to ensure that we're still having a good relationship with the clubs and committees and things like that. Right now, I'm actually, as a part of the Constitution Review Committee, we're writing a whole section kind of about this topic. So hiring, turnover, everything like that for the clubs and committees. So we'll have some more concrete procedures and things like that to follow and kind of revert back to when we have any conflict, and making sure that everyone's expectations are kind of set from the start.
Thank you. And now, Mo?
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point. I'm assuming that this person is questioning about two things. Either one, kind of like anti-bias, as Lauren said, in terms of racism and all of the diversity issues that we've been having. Number two, I'm assuming it's either first or second year students not receiving enough positions as well. So I would address both those things as mentioned. In terms of the diversity issue and ensuring that everybody feels welcomed, everybody gets equal opportunity regardless of religion, gender, race, etc. That would have to be addressed with the clubs. I think the main thing with that is sitting down with the club presidents and kind of talking it out. I think it's really good to have a good relationship with the club presidents. I don't know if the DCS did that this year, but I think we really have to kind of have better communication between the clubs. Talking with the presidents, talking with the execs, having a good relationship, going out for a coffee, I think is important, and that would really help. And I would do that definitely if I'm elected.
Thank you. And finally, Omar?
Yeah, for sure. So I believe the question also related to students in general, how to involve everyone. So with clubs and committees, yeah, we need to make sure that they have that they run events. Obviously, we're not gonna micromanage and tell them to do certain events, but I think the initiative overall and the whole idea of someone who wants to be in an exec position for clubs or committees is to run events that anyone can attend and learn from and take value from, whether that be first or second years, whether that be upper years, but definitely, like Mo said, opportunities for first and second years need to increase. And also just the first year there's always a first year rep or a first year rep in clubs and committees. So those are always a good position for entry level students. There are a lot of positions and newer positions coming, hopefully, if I am to be elected, that will not require lots of experience to be a part of, such as my Toastmasters committee, which focuses on improving public speaking, which would be a new committee that I would like to add if I am elected. But yeah, all these things are all opportunities for people, whether it to be an executive or just to be involved with certain events, are there for the students.
Thank you, Omar. And we're going to move on to the next question now. So the second question is, how would you support cohesion between all DCS clubs and committees as well? And we will start this one off with Mo.
Again, cohesion, yeah, it has to be a few things that would have to be pretty relevant here. Communication between team members. And yeah, because we have to properly communicate tasks, we have to properly communicate initiatives that we're running. Again, that kind of comes down to having a good relationship with your team members. How do you have a good relationship with your team members? You lead by example, you lead ethically, you do not abuse any of your team members. So all those things are really important to create a good relationship and to kind of create that cohesion and that bond between the team.
Thank you, Mo. And next we will have Omar.
Sure. Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, no worries. So the second question was, how would you support cohesion between all DCS clubs and committees?
Okay, yeah, for sure. So I think a big part of it is to hire the hiring process right from the start. Mo and Lauren have already touched on that a lot, the anti-bias, all of that. But a big part is, Craig also mentioned to us that whoever is to be elected, we will start hiring the executive team straight away. And when you're talking about cohesion between committees and clubs, you're talking about the COO, the chief operating officer, and our VP internal. In the DCS executive team, the VP internal is the one who facilitates communication between the executive team and all the clubs, and the COO is the one who facilitates communication with all the committees. Those two positions, we need to hire people who are clearly good communicators and can demonstrate a good leadership and can resolve conflict. In addition, it's not a solo job to make sure this cohesion happens between the committees and clubs. Like, if I'm a good communicator, it doesn't mean that they're all gonna be cohesive. It needs to come from within and from the hiring, making sure we hire leaders that are capable of understanding each other's points of views.
Thank you, Omar. And then last we'll have Lauren.
Yeah, for sure. So I do agree with what Omar and Mo said, both about like leading by example and ensuring that the people we're hiring are good communicators and can kind of take on those relationships. Another thing that I would suggest doing would be to have events where the club executive, committee executives, DCS executives can kind of all come together, mingle, and kind of have a more social relationship that isn't always just about operations and things like that. So kind of improving social stuff.
Thank you, Lauren. And oh, that was our last one. Thank you.
And now, so this is a question that was directed at Mo due to a specific thing you said. So someone said, I'm going to try and edit this down because it was fairly lengthy, but can you clarify your point on implementing ratios for hiring? Because how is hiring based on a various number of these racial, gender, ethnicity factors feasible or realistic?
So feasible, the exec positions don't cost anything to address that. In terms of the gender hiring, you can take a look at what we've done with the DMA this year. Our team is multicultural. It is gender diverse in terms of we want to have female representation as well. We don't want to just hire all men on the teams, right? So it's really important to have female representation, and that's what I mean by having a 50-50 ratio to ensure that we have more female representation. I know that Now, like DWIB is doing some amazing work for that. I just want to kind of carry that forward and make sure that we are diverse, we are representing others. Sorry, Craig, what was the other part of the question? Was it?
So to read the question again, because I'm not,
Yeah.
To read the question again, can you clarify your point on implementing ratios for hiring? Because how is hiring based on one race, gender, ethnicity, or religion
For sure, yeah.
feasible or realistic?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in terms of feasible, I've addressed that they would be exec positions, so they wouldn't cost us anything. Like they're just basically exec positions. In terms of like qualification, of course, we're gonna look for qualified candidates. It's not like we would hire somebody who's not qualified, but just because they're diverse, right? We would hire somebody who's qualified, but what it means basically is giving equal opportunities to people to ensure that, let's say, two candidates have the same qualifications, that we're not biased towards one because of their race, gender, etc. But that doesn't also mean that we would hire somebody who's not qualified. So I just address that. If somebody's not qualified, we would hopefully not hire them. But if they are qualified, there shouldn't be any bias in hiring, and that's what I'm just saying there. I hope that answered it to whoever. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Mo. So we'll move on to the next question, and that is, how do you plan to create a better graduation experience for next year's graduating class if the year is once again online? And we are going to start with Omar this time.
I mean, I'll be completely honest. I haven't really thought of, because I'm part of that graduating class, so it would be a bummer if we're still online. But definitely, I'll definitely work like to my best ability to try and make it as interactive as possible. It's what I do. If you look through my campaign, my Instagram, I try to make things as interactive, lighthearted, and a positive experience as possible. And we'll do what I can, because at the end of the day as well, the graduation experience isn't only down to the Greek Commerce Society. There's a lot of faculty involved with that. So I'll definitely be having the conversations. Again, I'm part of that graduating class. I definitely want it to be the best experience possible. So
thank you, Omar. And next we will have Lauren.
Yeah, so like Omar said, I will also hopefully be part of that graduating class. And I think Mo will be as well. So I know for typically what we do for the graduating classes, we host grad formal at the end of the year and we have grad gifts and things like that. I would ensure that this event isn't kind of taken away. We could do it in some kind of online form, have like a fun TikTok challenge to go along with it for people to celebrate their graduation, things like this. I mean, it's obviously, we hope that this isn't this would be the third graduating class to go online, but if that is the case, I think we have a lot more experience and tools to go off of from having these experiences.
Thank you, Lauren. And next, Mo.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so sorry. I actually got lost in the question. Would you mind just repeating it?
Yes, no worries. So the question was, how do you plan to create a better graduation experience for next year's graduating class if it's online again?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I don't know how many students are graduating, but it would possibly be a large number. So we would have to kind of come up with something that would, maybe we would kind of like split people up into groups and they can basically have a Zoom call and they would have some type of event online. I would definitely be open to that. And I would like people to connect on a personal level. So maybe I would challenge them to, let's say, contact 10 people over FaceTime or add somebody on Facebook and have a chat with them. I think it's really important to have that dialogue. So I would definitely encourage that if it's still online.
All right, thank you. So our next question is, how do you plan on increasing opportunities for lower year students to learn and grow throughout the DCS? I know it's been a common theme, and so we're going to start with this one with Mo.
Yeah, for sure. So I talked a lot about the budget within my campaign. So a lot of the budget, so two things, a lot of the budget would go towards career opportunities. I know a lot of first and second year students have felt that career opportunities are a little bit lacking in terms of for them compared to higher year students. So I would increase the budget for career opportunities. I would increase alumni relationships. And number 3, I would increase exec positions on clubs too. So I would work with the clubs to ensure that there's not only just one first year on each club, that we kind of uptick that and slowly start integrating first years earlier. But yeah, that's the main thing. I know that I've had some suggestions. I don't know if Aslan is on the call. He wanted to have group study and other things for first years. So it's really important that we serve our first years a little bit better. And I will do that.
Great, thank you. And now, Omar?
Yeah, for sure. So, like I mentioned before, I have the idea of the introducing the new committee, which should be a Toastmaster style DeGroote committee, and that focuses on public speaking, communication, and leadership, which I think are 3 essential business skills. I'm sure we'd all agree. You could take them forward in your in-class presentations. They would help you in applying for exec positions or a position like this, like a presidential position in the future. It would help you. It could be a first step to joining case competitions, and as well, there are case competitions already that are focused and tailored towards first and second years. There are clubs as well that involve first and second years over the upper years, such as Elite Seat. So there are many things really where the laureates can be involved, and we will continue to add and grow that. And by the way, first year rep positions are only for first years, but that doesn't mean that first years can't apply to other exec positions. Again, if a first year is good enough to be in a position, a person in an upper year doesn't necessarily have to take it from them just because they have more experience in a certain aspect. I know from experience that a lot of first years are more than capable of running as execs for many clubs and committees.
Thank you. And finally, Lauren?
Yeah, so my idea is to improve engagement, especially for our first and second year students, is to have more short-term roles that may be lower commitment. So that way we can open up a lot more roles on committees under the executives and things like that. So this would be a great way to kind of put your foot in the door and then have some involvement and kind of continue to work and get experience in the DCS and DeGroote, have things to put on your resume to improve those career opportunities as well. So yeah, creating roles that are a lot more numerous, but maybe part-time or like lower commitment, or just for like one term or something like that. So we have more opportunities for multiple students to get involved.
Thank you, Lauren. And now on to the next question. So if we go back in person, the DeGroote building is currently closed. How will you make sure to maintain a space that allows the DeGroote community to gather and build a new community? And we are going to start with Lauren.
Yeah, so for this, we would obviously have to work with the faculty and just the broader McMaster like facility services and things like that. I would hope that with working with faculty, we could figure out a space that would be possible for our commerce students to kind of come together, potentially something like PGCL, somewhere where we can kind of rent out space or have space that's free for us to use, because we do need space to host events and things like that. So this isn't really something that I think the DCS can do alone. We need support from faculty and the broader McMaster community, I think.
Thank you, Lauren. And next is Mo.
Yeah, similar to what Lauren said, I think we would definitely need faculty backing on this. I would work with the faculty to ensure that we have enough spaces within the school, within DeGroote, that students can actually connect, they can hang out. I know there are a few spots, however, I'm not sure how many people they can accommodate, so we would definitely look into that further. But yeah, I would definitely have to reach out to the faculty regarding to that, because we really, our hands are tied with this a little bit.
Thank you, Mo. And lastly, Omar.
Yeah, I mean, they both gave good answers, and obviously we're gonna need faculty help for that. But I also want to say that it's not something that the group has really struggled with in the past. Obviously, we had our full building at the time, but it wasn't really the biggest compared to to other faculty buildings. And if you think about it, the bigger events were outside of DSB anyway. So we had things like CIBC Hall and other places. So it really isn't that big of an issue. I'm sure there will be ways to work around it, and we will find spaces. It's just something we'll have to do. We will find spaces to host events, to have people to hang out and study in. There will be those spaces. I frankly don't think the spaces we had in DSB were enough anyways. So I'm glad we are having a bigger building. So yeah, just everything will work out with the spaces, whether it's to do with events or studying or just hanging out.
All right, thank you. So just a few more questions to go. So how receptive are you to new clubs, and how would you facilitate their success? So for that question, we are going to start with Mo.
That's an amazing question, by the way. Yeah, how we would facilitate the club's success, again, would have to come down on what a relationship is like with the clubs. I am, like, right now I'm the co-president of the DMA, so I would have liked a little bit of a better relationship with the DCS. If we had, any issues, that we can reach out a little bit more accessibly, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's for sure. We would have to better our relationship with the clubs. We would have to meet with the presidents more and the execs more. And yeah, that's a main thing. And just maybe social events with the DCS, maybe we can invite clubs on them a little bit more.
Thank you. And Omar? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry again. My Wi-Fi was cut out a little bit. So can you repeat the question, please? Yeah, if you can. Am I lagging? I must be lagging.
Yeah. So how receptive are you to new clubs, and how would you facilitate their success?
Oh, okay. So yeah, how receptive am I of new clubs? Definitely, I'm very supportive of any new clubs and any new ideas that any student has to pitch a new club. I'm very open to those ideas. And like Craig mentioned, we have that surplus in budget, so there is room for opening up new clubs. And yeah, if a new club was to be created, they'd obviously work closer with the VP internal, because it is going to be their first year, just to see how their plan is going so far. They definitely have to have a plan if they were to open a new club. So how their plan throughout the year is going, how they're facilitating, are they reaching their short-term objectives, and hope
You seem to have lost Omar. Yeah. And someone give me a thumbs up so that they can confirm that Omar's also disconnected. Okay. Well, I think we sort of made a protocol for this. He'll rejoin the meeting, and we'll give him a chance to finish his answer when he rejoins. So for now, I guess we're just going to continue on with the questions, and we'll give him a chance to answer them when he comes back with us. So our next question is another directed question at a candidate. Lauren is still here. Oh,
wait, Craig, I didn't get to answer the last question.
Oh, sorry, I completely blanked there.
No, that's okay.
Answer this question.
Yeah, so I was going to say, again, something similar to Mo and Omar. I'm very receptive to new clubs. This year on my DCS exec team, we launched 2 new clubs. Well, we approved 2 new clubs, the group consulting and group sales, and I think they've done a great job. So definitely getting more clubs out there is a great idea. As for supporting them, again, like Omar said, the VP internal would definitely take on that and ensuring that they're having like a lot of meetings with them, making sure everything's going well. And I would also just stress that the DCS marketing team would also be there for them to make sure that students are hearing about this club. So, and Omar's back. Hi, Omar.
Guys, sorry. Oh, that really sucks. I had a really good answer, man. Oh man. Okay.
Well, Lauren just answered while you were away, but if you would like to say your answer again, that'd be great.
Okay. Are you guys hearing me well now? Is everything good? Shit.
Yes, we are. So if you would like to give your answer again. Omar, are you still with us? Are you going to be answering with your video off?
I'll try to speak without without the camera for
Omar, I think you may need to go back to the link and use the call-in, just
this one.
because we're still not.
As close to the router as possible. I don't know.
Can you try and say your answer again? I think you kind of cut in right at the end there. Well, so I think while Omar's dialing in, we are going to proceed with questions. And now he's got me waiting in suspense to hear that great answer he had prepared for us. So back to, I guess, what I was saying was we do have a directed question for Lauren. For Lauren, what does anti-bias training look like specifically? Why do you consider this a good solution? What would you do if members received anti-bias training, but it is still evident that there is bias in the decision being made?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I suggested anti-bias training. I know that there was a push for it as well from faculty earlier. So I think this is a great way because we've never done this before. And I do know that there is bias that exists in our hiring. Everyone has unconscious bias. I have it, you have it, everyone has it no matter what. So anti-bias training kind of teaches us to be aware and constantly check these biases, right? So I think that's really important because people might not even be aware that they have these. And that's why I'm suggesting it. However, there may be some people that receive the anti-bias training and either it doesn't resonate with them or they choose not to kind of try to check their biases. So in that case, we would have to sit down with whoever was addressed as the problem or even with the entire kind of DeGroot community that received this training and talk about next steps, what didn't work, why it didn't work, and just kind of explaining the importance of this. I think that anti-bias training looks like just kind of encouraging people to check their biases and recognize them. I think that's the biggest thing about it is you might not even know what your biases are until you kind of go through this kind of training. So I hope that answers your question. And if you have any further questions, you can always DM me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever.
Thank you, Lauren. And on to our next question. So once again, this is for all our candidates, and it's how will you make sure the actions that you take are impactful and not performative? And we are going, okay, so Omar is not here, so we will start with Lauren.
Yeah, so I think performative activism is definitely something that we all have seen from companies, individuals, for sure throughout this year. And for me, this has always been a concern when I presented my ideas about diversity. I consulted with Manjot, who has consulted with a lot of students across DeGroot and McMaster as a whole. So for me, ensuring that things aren't performative isn't just about me as a white person implementing things. It's about consulting with the people that they directly affect and ensuring that they actually are impactful. And it's not just kind of like a, oh, here's what I'm doing, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Lauren. And next, I guess, Omar, are you able to?
Yeah, finally, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna continue this with my phone. So sorry about that, everyone.
Oh, perfect. So we actually moved on to the next question. If you don't mind answering it, I'll just read it out for you again. And it was, sorry, I just lost it. How will you make sure that the actions you take are impactful and not performative? So if you could answer that, please.
I want to make sure my actions are what, sorry?
Impactful and not performative.
Okay. I'll make sure I want to be held accountable for every action I do take. I want everyone to see the initiatives I talked about today. Look at the initiatives I talked about on my campaign, whether it's on my Instagram page, LinkedIn, or if you've reached out to me and we've had a discussion and I promised something, I want to be held accountable for it. I'll always follow up on what I've set out to achieve at the start of the year. And if there's any updates to any initiatives that I want to introduce throughout the year, if I am to be elected. And yeah, that's kind of where I want to make sure that everything I do say is achieved. And if it's not achieved, I have a good reason why. So yeah.
Thank you, Omar. And now Mo.
Yeah, I think you have to really like inspire people. As somebody said, I'm not sure who said it in the comments, like if you run a training, I'm not sure.
Did you not hear me again?
I can hear you, Omar, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll keep going on. Okay, yeah, so in terms of that, yeah, we have to really like inspire people to buy into what you're kind of promoting, because if they don't really buy in, it's not really going to work. So we can do trainings, we can do all of that, but it really starts with inspiring people and connecting with people, because if there is an issue, the formalities of trainings or whatever we can promote is good, but we have to again connect with people and get their feedback and how do you feel. That's really important as well. So I would do that for sure. If we would, let's say, put out something, I would follow up on it. And I've done a lot of polls on Instagram to just gauge feedback from people. So there was different approaches to different problems. So I would always take students' feedback if I were to implement something.
All right, thank you. And so we're at our last, well, we have one last question directed at Mo, and then there's going to be one final question someone had for all the candidates, and then we'll be moving into our closing statements. And once again, thank you for everyone that's still here and listening. I think this has been a great debate. So Mo, a direct question for you is, does your diversity ratio include a cap on IBH students in leadership roles?
No, it does not. It does not. I would treat IBH students the exact same I would treat commerce students. I know I am a commerce student, and IBH students might look at me and say, well, what does he stand for in terms of IBH? I would stand for everybody equally. If IBH candidates are qualified just as much as commerce students, we would hire them just as much. So I would not have a cap on IBH students, no.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And if everyone can guess what the last theme then is going to be for the final question is, how will you make sure that IBH feels represented within the DCS? So for that question, we're going to be starting with Omar.
Yeah, so I don't know if I mentioned already, but I am an IBH student, and the IBH community is really what kickstarted my career here in the group. Not like career as in professional, but just anything extracurriculars. I've had so much support from the IBH community, and that led me to meet all my friends in commerce and throughout all of the group in general. So my first of all, voting for me, you'd be voting for the first ever president from IBH. But second of all, I want to be fair with all of my, like Mo said, like whoever applies has a chance. The regular commerce or IBH part isn't something that concerns me when we're looking into hiring. So if any IBH student is applying, by all means, they have a fair chance just as much as any commerce student.
Thank you. And next, Lauren.
Yeah, I agree with Mo and Omar. I don't think that IBH students or commerce students should be put at a disadvantage when hiring. Like, we're not really we're not choosing one or the other for a specific reason, both are kind of equal groups and are great groups. I think that IBH and commerce, IBH students should feel welcome in the DeGroote community. I think that some things that I would do to encourage this would be specifically with the academic role, the VP academic. I would really like to ensure that for VP academic, because the main difference between commerce and IBH is the academics, right? So if the IBH or if the VP academic was an IBH, then their academic associate would need to be in commerce and vice versa, just so that we're ensuring that both programs have a voice for the faculty. As well, just making sure that IBH students know that they're more than welcome to apply, ensuring that a lot of commerce students don't even know what IBH is, so ensuring that we're promoting IBH as much as we can as well. So yeah, I love my IBHers. A lot of my really close friends in DeGroote are IBHers. So.
All right, thank you. And finally, Mo.
Did I answer that, or regarding IBH, right?
Yes, this is just a more general question of how do you want to make IBH feels represented within the DCS?
Of course, yeah. Yeah, as I think Omar said that, commerce or IBH, wouldn't look at that. So if let's say somebody is a candidate for a position who is an IBH student or a commerce student, that really doesn't matter to me. They would both be treated equally based on their qualifications. Again, with the course load, the courses, they are different. I recognize that. So I was thinking of introducing Discord online for study groups. So possibly we could do a Discord for IBH students if they have study resources, if they want to connect together, and if they also want to connect with commerce students, because I think it would be good to connect everybody together. So I would do a Discord online for sure. And that's part of my campaign, by the way.
All right, thank you. So once again, thank you to everyone in the audience. That does bring us to the end of our audience-based questions. I know we didn't get around to all of them, so I would encourage that if there's anything that you felt was left unaddressed, to reach out directly to the candidates to talk to them. And now we're going to move into closing statements, which will be 1 minute each. So Lauren, would you like to start with your closing statement?
Yeah, for sure. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for coming out, listening, and asking your own questions, as Craig said. To summarize my campaign, I'm all about change. I have a lot of initiatives that address student concerns, and I'm open to adapting them if needed. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. My Instagram should be on the DCS page, and it's at lauren.dcs21. The DCS and DeGroote as a whole have provided great experiences for me, and I hope for you all as well. So I would encourage you all to vote, have a say in what you want to see for your student experience. That's why we're all here, to improve your student experience. This year has been tough. We have no idea what's going to come next, but I'm prepared to do all I can for our students. I wish my fellow candidates luck, and no matter what happens with the results of the election, I hope to sit down and discuss changes that we would all like to make. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And now, Mo?
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming and watching this. I know it's been a bit long and you could have been doing anything else. So thanks for coming. Thanks for Laura and Craig and the other candidates for also coming as well. So yeah, in terms of my campaign, I think we have a campaign that's really special because a lot of the ideas that we put together were student ideas. They were ideas from student leaders. I tried my best to engage students as much as possible on Instagram. You can also check it out there tonight. As Lauren said, my Instagram is Mo for DCS President, and you can go there and you can see my entire campaign proposals. And I'll put up tonight in my stories, like one little blurb. You can write whatever you want, just in case your questions did not go through. So again, thanks for coming. I hope you guys can turn out your friends to vote and you have a say for what you want to see next year. And I thank the other candidates for their time.
Thank you. And to end off with Omar.
Yeah, again, thank you everyone for coming. It's been a pleasure being here. No matter what happens, like I said, good luck to both of the other candidates. And no matter what happens, as Lauren said, I'd love to meet with if I win, I'd love to meet with the other two candidates and discuss how I can implement their ideas into my year as a president. And if I lose, I'd love to meet with the winner and try to see how I can implement my ideas into their year as a president. So yeah, with that said, again, my Instagram is Omar for DCS president. So please check that out. And for the questions where I did cut off, I'm really sorry about that. If whoever wrote those questions in wants to reach out to me personally and ask them to me personally, please feel free to do so. Yeah, and to end it off, just vote for experienced candidate and vote for a joyful ride, hopefully, and just let's vibe and enjoy this all together. And yeah, just make sure you vote tomorrow.
All right, thank you. So just some quick voting information. You will be receiving, we will be posting voting links, but also you will be emailed one directly from the MSU voting platform to your Mac email. So please check your spam filters if you've filtered them out in the past, because that is the easiest direct way to vote. Voting will be open from, I believe, midnight tonight until midnight tomorrow. So a full 24-hour cycle for all time zones. And we'll be hoping that we can announce the winner sometime later Thursday. And I believe Laura probably has some other details, maybe.
No, that covered everything. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. We really appreciated you having you here and taking time out of your evening today to hear what your presidential candidates have to say. And once again, the decision truly is yours. So I encourage you to check out each of their platforms, each of their social media accounts tonight before you make your decision, so you can really make an informed decision. And once again, thank you so much for coming out. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to the candidates or the DCS Mac Instagram. So thank you so much, everybody, and have a great night.